Dear friends, near a village named Pahartoli, there was a dense forest. Various kinds of animals and birds lived in that forest. At the edge of the forest, a widow lived in a small cottage. Her name was Nur Banu. Nur Banu's age was between 25 and 30 years. Her husband had died a year ago from a terrible disease. Nur Banu now had no helper. She used to collect wood from the forest and did some sewing and weaving work in the village to survive somehow. She was beautiful, but there was deep sorrow in her eyes because the villagers mocked her loneliness behind her beauty. But Nur Banu never felt sad about anyone's words. To her, the meaning of life now was only to meet daily needs and somehow pass the days. One day, Nur Banu was collecting wood in the forest. Suddenly, a big monkey came down from a nearby tree and sat in front of her. Nur Banu got a little scared, seeing the monkey, but the monkey didn't attack and only kept staring at her. She felt somewhat calm. Nur Banu slowly looked at it and said, "Who are you? What do you want?" As soon as she said this, the monkey lowered its head as if it understood her words. Nur Banu smiled softly and got back to her work. The monkey sat there and kept watching her. When Nur Banu started tying the wood, the monkey came and began to help her. Nur Banu was surprised. She caressed the monkey's head lovingly and said, "You are very clever." From that day, the monkey came to Nur Banu every day. Sometimes it brought fruit for her. Sometimes it helped in her work. Sometimes it sat in front of Nur Banu's cottage and played till evening. A new color had entered Nur Banu's life. A smile had returned to her lips. Thus, time passed, and a strange bond formed between Nur Banu and the monkey. Whenever Nur Banu was alone, the monkey tried to make her laugh. When she felt sad, the monkey would come and rest its head on her shoulder. Nur Banu now considered it as a part of her family. One night, Nur Banu was sitting outside her cottage. She was enjoying the beauty of the moonlit night. Suddenly she saw the monkey was sitting on a branch of a nearby tree and watching her. Nur Banu looked at it and gave a slight smile. "Will you always stay with me?" she asked. The monkey slowly jumped down and sat by her feet. Nur Banu lifted it onto her lap and started stroking its head lovingly. That night, for the first time, Nur Banu felt free from the feeling of loneliness. In this way, the days kept passing, and Nur Banu's relationship with the monkey became deeper. One day, Nur Banu fell ill. She had a high fever. She lay in her cottage, and the monkey sat beside her anxiously. It brought various fruits from the forest and placed them before Nur Banu. Nur Banu opened her eyes with difficulty and said in a soft voice, "Why do you worry so much about me?" The monkey looked into her eyes. There was deep affection in its gaze, a kind of love which was beyond words. Nur Banu slowly held the monkey's hand and fell asleep. The monkey sat beside her the whole night. A few days later, Nur Banu fully recovered. Now, she couldn't stay a moment without the monkey. Both of them had become a habit to each other. Nur Banu had a strong belief that this monkey was not an ordinary animal. There was a familiar touch in it, as if an old soul had returned to her life as a part of it. One night, there was heavy rain. Nur Banu was sitting inside the cottage, and the monkey came and sat beside her. In the flash of lightning, Nur Banu saw the monkey's eyes had become deep and bright. She stroked its head and said, "Will you always stay with me?" The monkey slowly rested its head on her lap. Tears rolled down Nur Banu's eyes. She realized the emptiness in her life was now fulfilled. That night, she hugged the monkey to her chest, and for the first time, felt a strange sense of kinship, as if she had found a loved one after many years. Thus, time continued to pass. But now, Nur Banu started to feel a strange change in her body. She was feeling nauseous. Her appetite had increased, and slowly her body also began to change. Anxiously, she went to the village midwife. The midwife examined her and said, "Nur Banu, you are pregnant." Hearing this, Nur Banu was shocked. She said to the midwife, "How is that possible? I have no husband." The midwife looked into her eyes and said calmly, "But it is true, my dear." Nur Banu became silent. On the way back, she began to think, "Is this possible?" She remembered that night when she had laid the monkey beside her and had felt a strange peace and deep kinship. Is it possible that the monkey is the cause of her pregnancy? This thought frightened and confused her. Now, Nur Banu saw the monkey every day, but fear and hesitation had taken place in her mind. The monkey roamed around her like before. It helped her, sometimes brought fruits, sometimes collected wood. But many questions were now spinning in Nur Banu's mind. Was it love, or some supernatural event or curse? Was the monkey really an ordinary animal, or some god or cursed spirit? Nur Banu was drowning in these questions, but she had no answers. Now, she was caught in deep conflict. Pregnancy was not a simple matter. Slowly, the news spread in the village that Nur Banu was pregnant. The village women and men began to say many things about her. A child in a widow's womb, how is that possible? Surely, it is some sin. Maybe some demon from the forest comes in her dreams. Nur Banu became embarrassed by these words. She knew she had no relationship with any man. Still, how was this pregnancy possible? Again and again she remembered that night, when during the heavy rain she had laid the monkey on her lap. Since then, this change had begun in her body. One day, Nur Banu was sitting outside her cottage. The monkey was sitting on a branch of a nearby tree, watching her. Nur Banu looked at it and asked, "Do you know what is happening to me?" The monkey stared into her eyes. In its eyes was the same deep brightness that was there on that rainy night. With tear-filled eyes, Nur Banu said, "I have loved you. But how is it possible that you are the cause of my pregnancy?" When the villagers found out that Nur Banu was pregnant, there was an uproar. The village council summoned Nur Banu. The village chief asked in a stern voice, "Nur Banu, tell the truth. Who is the father of your child?" Nur Banu stood with her head lowered. After a while, she said in a soft voice, "I don't know." The people of the council said, "You are lying. How can one get pregnant without being with someone?" Some women said, "Surely she had a secret relationship with someone." Nur Banu gathered courage and said, "No man has come into my life, but there is a monkey who stays with me every day. He helps me. He is my companion." The chief laughed and said, "What are you saying? Are you trying to say that a monkey made you pregnant?" The villagers burst into laughter, but Nur Banu's face was serious. She said, "I have never been with anyone. I also don't know how this happened. But it is true that since the monkey started coming to my cottage, my life has changed." The villagers, upon hearing this, considered Nur Banu impure and dishonored. The village women stopped talking to her. Children no longer came to play near her cottage. Nur Banu had now become completely alone. Everyone had cut ties with her. Now there was only one fear in her mind. How would she survive in this world with her child? She had built a small cottage, but fear kept her awake every night. She used to stay awake, gently stroking her belly and feeling the movements of the baby inside her womb increasing. Still, her mind was full of doubt. She was anxious. One day, she was alone in the cottage when suddenly that monkey came. Slowly, it placed its head on her knees. Nur Banu looked into its eyes and asked, "Are you hiding something from me?" The monkey gave her a deep look. Suddenly, tears began to fall from its eyes. Nur Banu was startled. "Are you crying?" The monkey slowly held her hand. Nur Banu felt that even in this silent creature, there was a deep bond hidden. But just then, the monkey suddenly stood up and walked toward the forest. Nur Banu called out, "Where are you going? Stop!" But the monkey didn't look back. Nur Banu sat there in shock. The next day, a mystical fakir came to the village. The villagers told the fakir about Nur Banu's condition. The fakir called Nur Banu to him. He looked at her and said, "The child in your womb is not an ordinary child. It is the result of a special soul. Was there any animal involved with you?" Nur Banu slowly bowed her head and said, "Yes, a monkey came into my life. He took care of me, but now he is gone." The fakir sighed deeply and said, "That was not an ordinary monkey. It was a divine spirit. Due to the curse of a saint, it had to take the form of a monkey. But when it experienced love from you, its curse was broken." Nur Banu looked at the fakir in amazement and asked, "Is this child truly divine?" The fakir said in a serious voice, "Yes, this child is the offspring of love between a human and a creature. But with the birth of this child, a great crisis will also come. This child will have to struggle hard for its existence." Nur Banu asked in a trembling voice, "What kind of crisis, Fakir Baba?" The fakir replied, "This child will be blessed with special powers, but to claim it, the forces of darkness will also rise. You must do everything possible to protect your child." Fear and worry clearly appeared in Nur Banu's eyes. She asked, "But where did that monkey go?" The fakir said, "He has now returned to his true form. He has attained divinity. But when the crisis comes, he will definitely return and help you." In this way, time slowly began to pass. Nur Banu's womb continued to grow, but the villagers still looked at her with suspicion. Yet, a new strength had awakened in Nur Banu's heart. She firmly believed that she would be able to protect her child. One day, Nur Banu went to the forest to collect wood. Suddenly, from the thick trees, came a terrifying sound. Nur Banu saw, in front of her, stood a huge black snake with its hood raised. Terrified, Nur Banu tried to step back, but the snake started coming toward her. Panicked, she closed her eyes. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the air. When Nurbanu opened her eyes, she saw the monkey standing in front of her. But this time, there was intense brightness in its eyes. It leapt toward the black snake and struck it hard. The snake hissed and vanished into the darkness. Nurbanu, trembling, kept looking at the monkey. The monkey looked into her eyes. That bond still shimmered. But before Nurbanu could say anything, the monkey rushed back into the forest. Now, Nurbanu understood that the child in her womb was not ordinary. Rather, it was a symbol of divine power, being nurtured in her womb. The sudden appearance of the monkey and its saving her from the snake, this was proof that something big was about to happen. Still, doubts lingered in Nurbanu's mind. Was that monkey truly a divine spirit? If he was an incarnation of a saint, then why did he go away from me? And who was that snake? These unresolved questions made Nurbanu increasingly restless. The time of birth was now near. Nurbanu's body had become heavy, and her movements were painful. The village women still kept their distance from her. For Nurbanu, each day had become very difficult. One night, a fierce storm broke out. Lightning flashed across the sky. Nurbanu was sitting alone inside her cottage. Suddenly, she felt the sound of footsteps outside the cottage. She slowly opened the door. She saw a person wrapped in a black cloth was standing in front of her cottage. "Who are you?" Nurbanu asked in fear. That person slowly extended his hand toward her. In his hand was a long trident. There was a strange glow on his face, but cruelty gleamed in his eyes. "You are carrying a child, and that is not ordinary. It is a symbol of power. I have come to take it," he said. Nurbanu, startled, stepped back and asked, "Who are you?" That person laughed loudly. His voice boomed, "I am the demon Kalkatu. The divine spirit that made you pregnant is my enemy. That child must be destroyed before it is born. If it is allowed to be born, the balance of creation will be broken," Kalkatu roared. Nurbanu, trembling, placed her hand on her belly and said, "You cannot harm my child." But Kalkatu laughed loudly and said, "It's impossible to escape me." He was moving toward Nurbanu. Suddenly, a roar echoed from the jungle. In front of Nurbanu's eyes, two glowing eyes lit up in the darkness. A massive figure appeared like a black cloud. It was the monkey. In one leap, it stood right in front of the demon Kalkatu. Its eyes were burning with fire, and beams of light shone from its body. Kalkatu raised his trident toward the monkey, but the monkey roared and jumped on him. A terrifying battle began between them. Nurbanu stood at the cottage door, watching everything in fear. The monkey tightly grabbed Kalkatu's trident with its long tail and hurled him through the air. Kalkatu burst with rage and began attacking the monkey furiously, but the monkey was cleverly dodging each of his blows. Suddenly, the monkey struck Kalkatu's chest with full force. Kalkatu fell to the ground and began to groan in pain. At that moment, lightning began flashing in the sky, and divine light spread all around. Kalkatu's body began to burn. He turned into smoke and slowly vanished. The monkey looked at Nurbanu. There was deep peace and compassion in his eyes. Trembling with fear, Nur Banu whispered, "Who are you?" The monkey slowly came toward her. He placed his soft hand on Nur Banu's hand. Then divine light radiated from his entire body, and he transformed into a handsome young man. Nur Banu was left stunned. In front of her stood a beautiful divine youth. Radiance was gleaming from his body. In his eyes, there was the depth of compassion and love. Nur Banu, I was not an ordinary monkey. I am the son of a saint. I was cursed that until I passed the test of a woman's love, I would have to live as a beast. Nur Banu asked in amazement, "Then why did you love me?" The young man said, "Because your love was pure and selfless. You loved me without any greed. That's why my curse has been broken. But now, a new trial lies ahead." Nur Banu asked in surprise, "What kind of trial?" The young man said, "The child growing in your womb is not an ordinary child. He is the symbol of creation's balance. But demons named Kalkatu are still active. They will try to prevent this child from being born. You must protect him." Nur Banu held the young man's hand and said, "But why did you leave me alone?" The young man said, "I left you so that my love could be proven true. I wanted to know whether you would protect your child even in my absence. And you have proven that you are a true companion." Tears rolled from Nur Banu's eyes. She hugged the young man and said, "I will never let you go." The young man said, "Now, I will never leave you. But to protect the child in your womb, I must return once more to my divine form. When danger comes to you and your unborn child, I will return." Nur Banu asked in fear, "But if you leave, how will I stay alone?" The young man held her face in both hands and said, "The strength in your heart, that strength will protect you. And I will always be with you, even if you cannot see me." The young man slowly released Nur Banu's hand and once again transformed into the monkey in a burst of radiant light. The monkey looked at Nur Banu one last time with loving eyes and ran toward the forest. Nur Banu sat there. In her heart was a mixture of fear and love. She knew that the child growing in her womb was now not just her fate. That child was the protector of creation's future. Nur Banu's time of pregnancy was nearing completion. Movement in her body had started to increase. The villagers still looked at her with suspicion. But Nur Banu now had no doubt, no fear. She firmly believed that the birth of her child was for a divine purpose. At dawn, strange commotion began in the village. Darkness spread across the sky. Trees began to sway violently. Birds started flying here and there in fear. Nur Banu came outside the cottage and saw a dark figure was standing outside the village. It was Kalkatu. Anger burned in his red eyes. He roared and said, "I have returned. I will not let the child in your womb be born." Nur Banu said with immense courage, "You will not even be able to touch my child." Kalkatu laughed loudly and mocked, "What can you do alone? I am the Lord of Darkness myself. Your end is certain." Nur Banu placed her hand on her womb and said, "My womb is protected by God Himself. No matter how much you try, you will not be able to harm my child." The demon, Kalkatu, raised his trident and hurled it at Nur Banu. Nurbanu closed her eyes. Suddenly, there was a roar in the air. Nurbanu saw the monkey was standing in front of her. Fire was blazing from his eyes. The monkey leapt and caught the trident in the air and hurled it at Kalkitu. The trident pierced Kalkitu's chest, and he screamed in pain. The monkey said, "Kalkitu, your end is now certain. You will no longer be part of this creation." Kalkitu roared in rage and said, "You cannot defeat me!" The monkey jumped high and struck Kalkitu's head. His body began to burn and turned to ash. Nurbanu saw the monkey was now slowly coming toward her. There was love and peace in his eyes. The monkey touched her hand and said, "Now you must face your destiny." Suddenly, Nurbanu felt intense pain. She sat on the ground, and the monkey placed his hand on her head. Nurbanu felt as if a divine power was entering her. Gradually, amid the pain, a sweet light emerged. The sound of a baby crying was heard. Nurbanu saw, in her lap was a divine child. Golden light was emanating from his body. The monkey looked at the child and said, "This child is a symbol of union between man and creation. In the future, he will establish truth and righteousness. It is your duty to protect him." Nurbanu lovingly picked up the child in her arms and said, "I will definitely protect him." The monkey smiled gently and said, "Now my work is done." Nurbanu asked in fear, "Don't leave me now?" The monkey said, "Now I must return to my true form. But when you need me, I will surely return." Tears rolled down Nurbanu's eyes. She said, "Who are you?" The monkey said, "I am the son of a saint. But now I have become the protector of your life. When danger comes to this child, I will surely come." Nurbanu held the child in her arms and said, "I know you will never leave me alone." The monkey looked at her with eyes full of love and slowly faded into golden light. Nurbanu looked toward the sky and felt her life had now moved in a new direction. The villagers, who once considered Nurbanu dishonored, now began to respect her. Nurbanu raised her son with immense love and courage. She believed that the day danger came to her son, that divine monkey would return to help her. The monkey's love had now become an inseparable part of Nurbanu's life. This story is a symbol of deep love and purity that will touch and inspire many. Friends, how did you like today's story? Don't forget to share a lovely comment below. If you enjoyed it, like the video and subscribe to the channel.